All right, another opportunity to offer a transmission that, again, as I have said before, this is the information that just moves through me. I allow myself to be a vessel for consciousness to speak through me while we come together on Wednesdays at 12 o'clock Eastern time. I've been doing these for a long time, couple of years now. This is episode 125. And today is November the 1st, 2023. We are in the midst of a magnificent time in all of the history of the universe. What is happening has never happened before. And the only reason I know this is because I'm the consciousness that has been around for forever. You and I are part of that consciousness. And when we decide to tap in to ultimate truth, to just truth, we don't have to call it ultimate truth, to truth, capital T, truth, we have access to all of this information. And when we get bogged down in the ego stories, yes, there are little T truths. There's a truth of our stuff in the world. There's the truth that we're going to buy a house, or the truth that we're going to get a new job, or the truth that we are retiring, or the truth that we're going to, for me, I'm going to be a grandmother again. So we have all these little T truths, which are the truths at the realm of the 3D world. And this is really at the level of human life. But that's not all there is. That's not all there is to us. We are consciousness dipping down, like dipping our toes in the waters of physicality. And we have a short temporary experience where we are physical, and that physical experience allows us to be here in the world. And until we awaken, we're in the world and we're of it. So we think that the things of the world matter. We think our stuff matters, our relationships define us, our job is what keeps us safe, that the government protects us, that we just buy into the rules that the ego has made. And there is nothing wrong with that, because we make a choice to have a 3D experience. That is perfectly okay. But where things go wonky is that we think that that's all there is, that we are who we are as a separate person compared to everybody else. And while we are operating at that level of not only separation from one another, but also we are operating in a level of illusory thinking, meaning we are literally trapped inside of a story that confines us to thinking that what I know, what I believe is all there is, that I'm right, and we're protecting our righteousness. That's what the ego is all about. So the ego serves a purpose. It gives us the ability to have a 3D experience. But it was not ever the intention of Source, because Source is all about love, for us to believe a voice in our head that just activates fear, that everything is motivated by fear. God didn't create that at all, not at all. But God does allow free will. God, consciousness, Source, spirit, whatever you want to call it, allows for the free will that lets us believe whatever we want to believe. And that's a beautiful expression of the unlimited amount of love that God has for its creation. There is zero condemnation for anybody who wants to believe otherwise. This is unconditional love, no conditions. And if there are no conditions, there's no condemnation, there's no judgment, there's nothing, except for we experience the consequences of choosing to believe that fear is real, which God didn't create. So we allow ourselves to be blocked by those beliefs, those ideas, and we get caught in the minutia of life. When we're swept into the minutia of life, we will operate in fear. When something moves, when something changes, when something is lost, when someone dies, when a home gets blown away by a hurricane, if that is what you have decided is your reality, you are destined to suffer, because you have made a choice that the things of the world that are constantly changing, that move all the time, that are inconsistent because there are agreements made with a bunch of egos and they're all inconsistent. When those things shift, you have built your house on sand. You have decided to believe things that are going to bring suffering. We have to travel, we have to go across a bridge of consciousness. We have to go through the steps, or through, you can call it a ladder of ascension. You've got to take steps to move away from thinking with the ego. And this takes time, although we're so supported right now in making this process a lot faster. But we have to take steps moment to moment to moment to moment to align our consciousness with the truth of God. And that means nothing in this world is real. Nothing that is solid is real. What is real is what is not of this world, having a temporary experience in the world. So through the process of expanding our consciousness, we are learning how to be in the world, but not of it. We are supposed to be in the world. We are supposed to have these experiences. That we're not arguing with that, but we're not supposed to get attached to these things. We are not supposed to believe that they are real and they offer us anything. That is what is completely backwards. We are what brings to this world the love, the light, the peace, the joy, the creativity, the fun, the ease. We bring that. And then those who operate in that level of consciousness serve in different capacities to make sure that this process is cohesive and consistent for all of humanity. So beings that know that as truth will serve in positions of government, which is just should be only the management of all of our resources. So the service is for the greater good, never selfish. We will operate in the world of commerce. We will participate in what do you call that? Sometimes some of these human words escape me when I don't use them all the time, but we participate in capitalism. We open up shops. We are customers. We have jobs, but the jobs are not just to make money so you can pay bills. The jobs are our desire to be of service to the greater good. And of course, for now, this is going to go away in several generations, maybe 4 or 5 generations, but money is not going to be a function of what we do. We're not going to be trading hours for dollars. That is not part of the 5th dimension, because we're going to be aware that our thoughts create our reality. So if you want a sandwich, it's going to appear. You don't have to go get a job and work a bunch of hours to get a paycheck to afford to go get a sandwich. You want it, you experience it. But we're not there yet. That's beyond what most of us think is possible now. But what is definitely possible is to have our jobs, to work and to do things, and have a government that we can trust, that is transparent, to have companies who take good care of their employees, provide all kinds of things, basically share in the profits that are made for the service of the greater good. So we definitely have a desire, have the ability to be more collaborative. That is possible. We will definitely see the beginning of that in our lifetime. Actually, I shouldn't say the beginning of it, because there are already many organizations that operate in high integrity. It's just not the norm yet. There are people in political realms that operate in high integrity, but it is not the norm yet. There are even spiritual institutions that operate in high integrity, but it is not the norm yet. The norm will be available to all of us when more of us operate at that frequency. So while we're caught in the things of the world, we can't be co-creating the new world, the new earth. So we have to make a choice. We have to make a decision to let the old be the old, and then we show up as the new. But to show up as the new requires radical honesty. It requires constant vigilance about what you're thinking. If your thoughts are about the things of the world, then you're operating in the egoic realm. And we have to be honest about that. If your thoughts are about what is co-creating a new earth, then you have to embody that. You bring that into physical manifestation. You become the change you want to see in the world. So as we continue in our readings from A Course in Miracles, we're still in chapter 30. We are still in the section is called The New Beginning. We are still in section number 4. And section number 4 is called The Truth Behind Illusions. And we have been looking at the fact that the truth is that we were created to be expressions of the love, the light, the beauty, the magnificence of God expressing itself in physical form. So as we see that we have given power externally to idols, that we get easily scared when things don't go our way according to the ego, well, basically, we are having to have an opportunity through these kinds of teachings to see that it's time for us to break the rules. So the world has created rules that we agreed to. Now we have to break the rules. We've got to get comfortable with the new role that we are being invited to, because to be part of the new earth, you can't be part of the old earth and at the same time hold both as true. Now, you can be co-creating the new while you observe the old world and play the game with total and complete awareness. So here, we've been basically told in the previous paragraph that reality, with a capital R, observes the laws of God, not the rules we set. God does not operate by the thousands of rules and laws and regulations that our governments have created for us. Most of them are nonsense. We could easily all operate under the 10 commandments. If we just operated with love your neighbor as yourself, we wouldn't even need but maybe 1 or 2 rules and regulations. And even that would not be necessary if we truly abided by treat your neighbor as yourself. If we did unto others as we want done unto us, but we can't operate by that yet, because to be at that level, you must have aligned with God's truth about you. You must know that you are love. You must know that you're eternal. So to be able to treat your neighbor that way, there would be no fear, because in your eternalness, there's no fear of death. There's no fear of illness. When you operate from love, you don't get sick. You don't get experience things that are of low consciousness. So to get to the place that you treat your neighbor as yourself, that's the result of doing the journey of leaving the ways of the ego behind, of transcending, ending the trance of egoic unconsciousness, because that's what it is we're asleep and thinking one thing when we're asleep. Well, we have to wake up to think something else. It's no different than when we're in bed. When we're asleep in bed, we're dreaming, and the ego, or not the ego, the mind is having all these different experiences that are typically not of this world. So when we wake up and then we realize, oh, okay, then let me get back to this world. So when we go through the awakening process, it's the reverse of what happens to us in our sleep process while we have physical bodies. So while we have physical bodies, when we are awake, we're actually in the dream of separation. When we go to sleep, we go to realms that are beyond this world. We are going exploring. We are unlimited. We are eternal. We are, amazing things can happen, and they happen for a short period of time. You wake up, you have your human experience, you go to sleep the next night, you have a totally different dream. So in our dream state, the infinite possibilities are possible. In our awake state, again, which is backwards, we only have this one possibility. I got to go to work. I got to pay my bills. I got to pay my taxes. I got to do what I'm told, or else I'll get in trouble. When you move to the realm of consciousness, it's backwards. It shifts. While you are awake, you realize that you are a being of infinite possibilities. You begin to operate in the world, but not of it, because you are making manifest potentials that are not here now. When you then are in the sleep state and you are engaging in dreams, you know you're tapping into source. And then when you get to a certain level of consciousness, you use that dream state to get downloads, to receive guidance, so that when you wake up in your bed and it's time for the day, you are doing it consciously, not unconsciously. So this journey takes a while. So reality observes the laws of God, not the rules that man made. So we've got to go through this process, because that is the only thing that is going to guarantee our safety. And if you want to be safe, don't look to the government that operates from ego. And you know they operate from ego when you just observe a few things. There's no transparency. When there's no transparency, you know ego is involved. There is selfishness, there is greed, there is what's in it for me. That's ego. So why would you expect a government to create rules, laws, regulations, speaks of war to keep you safe? That's insane. To expect somebody who is or many who are operating at that level of insanity. So we have to wake up. We have to go through the process of aligning with God, because our safety, our true safety, is only going to come from knowing that we are not of this world. We're in it, not of it. That's why you cannot make the stuff important to you, because if the stuff is important to you, then you're in this world and of it. If those things are no longer important and you're operating from total and complete freedom, you literally can let things come and go and it does not affect you, then you are grounded in the truth that keeps you safe, that you and God, you and source are one, but you are one with all that is. So little by little, our life in the world begins to change, because we begin to align with the communities, the people that are operating in that frequency. We begin to unplug from the old, and we begin to be part of communities that are shifting and co-creating the new earth. And in the new earth, there are a lot of things that are totally, completely not at all acceptable in the old earth, the new earth. We're not going to have taxes in the new earth. Those things are not going to happen. Yes, we're going to contribute to the taking care of things, but it is going to be done in a very transparency is key, transparent way. And it is going to be done in a way that is you can look at it and you will see exactly where these funds go, because it will be funding for the greater good of all. Our income is not going to be taxed because it's our income. And that is absolutely, completely against God's laws. That's why Jesus turned over the tables in the temple, because the money changers were all about usury, about taxing people. You shouldn't be taxed for what you earn. And then you get taxed for what you earn. And with your taxed dollars, you then go to buy things and you pay additional tax. That's insanity. But we have all agreed to that. And if we don't do it, then we get scared if we don't take care of those things. Well, we're moving to a time when things are not going to be done to scare people. When what is being done, the governance, not only is it going to be very small, because there will be no bureaucracy, and it's going to be all transparent. So no corporation can pay their way and have a politician in their pocket. That's just not going to happen. There are many people who have been moving out of the old and they're co-creating the new. But in order to be able to have the new be a part of our reality, we've got to be willing to understand, what is the new? What does that mean? What does listening to God mean? What does it mean to operate by truth only? So as we continue in paragraph number 5, welcome, sweet friend. Good to have you here. So paragraph number 5 states, appearances deceive because they are appearances and not reality. So the appearance that we have a government that takes care of us, the appearance that we have a medical system that keeps us well, the appearance of an education system, the appearance of a religious system, they're appearances. They're not real. They've been made out by people who participated in the illusion as being real, and we bought into it. But here's the thing, the illusion of the appearances of power outside of us and safety outside of us and well-being outside of us exists only because we participate in it. Part of what has been happening since 2020, because this is the decade, the 2020 decade is a decade of seeing clearly, open up your eyes and begin to see what's happening, is the time of us questioning appearances. Everything that we thought was true, we have to question it. But most people will not question the appearances because the ego has us believe that that is true, and to question is unnecessary. But it's only unnecessary to one who is afraid of seeing the truth. So the ego lies to us that our power is outside of us. The ego lies to us, don't question anything out there, because the ego doesn't want you to find power within you, because then you won't listen to the ego. So it is a process. It takes time to work through this shift in consciousness, but all of it starts with a willingness to see things differently. You have to have a tiny little bit of curiosity. You've got to be willing to question your beliefs, your habits, your why you say what you say, why you feel what you feel. You have to question and be curious to move you out of the place of reactivity to things, because you expect them to be a certain way, and if they're not, then you react. You've got to be able to be willing to question those irritations, because those irritations are invitations to understand the ego's motivation. So you've got to be like a little kid that asks, why? You know, are we there yet? Why is this like this? So we've got to become curious. And there is no way anyone can wake up without curiosity. It's just impossible. So if you are on this journey and you think you're pretty evolved and you're still experiencing things that are not to your liking, you still like experience contraction, experience fear, experience discomfort, experience comparison, experience jealousy, experience worry, fear. Question, why am I experiencing that? It's always going to be on the side of the ego. And if you don't want to experience that, you have to be diligent for moving to the side that where the truth is. So you got to question all these appearances, because they are not reality. They are not the truth that we are a part of. Yes, they are a virtual reality that we're inside of, but we are waking up to pop out of that illusion. So dwell not on them in any form. You know, when it says in here, in any form, we must question everything that we think we must do according to the outer world. We got to question every single belief until none of them are active in our reality. And for that, I mean, it takes a lot of courage. You know, that's where courage is. You cannot cross the line without courage. And courage moves us to a place of neutrality. Neutrality means that we are open-minded. We don't have an opinion about things because we are learning. We're learning a new way. So you can't continue to defend the old way. Otherwise, you're not neutral. If that's the right way, the old way, you're going to attack anybody who is attempting to show you the things in this world that are dysfunctional. That's why they've done a great job of labeling anybody who questions anything about the government conspiracy theorists. Who labels that? The very institutions that don't want you to find out what they're doing, because they want to make sure that you get shamed for being curious. So they come up with this interesting little label, conspiracy theorist. It's so funny because they have a conspiracy against you knowing the truth. Because if you know the truth, you're going to have a different theory. So it works perfectly. because whatever we accuse another, it's always a projection from self. So when you understand all of the pieces that are at work here, that projection is always a rejection of self. So those who label these people conspiracy theorists for being curious are the ones who are conspiring to create a theory that goes against God. But they label these people over here, and when it is accepted that conspiracy theories is a bad thing, then you don't go here to look at, well, what are they hiding? We go here to judge and blame and accuse these people who are the brave ones that have the courage to begin to want to see and question why. But we've been told, stop asking why. Stop asking why as children. Stop asking why. It annoys the parents. And then, of course, we grow up being annoyed by curious people. The teachers don't want to be questioned. The church doesn't want to be questioned. The government doesn't want to be questioned. The doctor doesn't want to be questioned. You take that pill because I said so, because I've got a degree and you don't. And that's insanity. That is insanity. Those are the appearances that deceive us because we have agreed to participate that those things are true. So for these things, for this reality, egoic reality to collapse, we have to pull our power from it. And the way you pull your power from it is stop believing it, because it is through our belief that we give it power. If we think that they're right, if we think the government is right or the institutions are right, we are giving it power. The minute you say, you know what, I don't know if they're right or wrong, let me just get curious, you are removing some of your power from it. So it continues to say, as I said, dwell not on them in any form, because those appearances do not hold water. They but obscure reality, and they bring fear because they hide the truth. They bring fear because they hide the truth. When you can take a sentence like that, I mean, we could literally spend a month just talking about that. And it's very simple. They obscure reality and they bring fear because they hide the truth. So let's look at that example about the conspiracy theorist. How is it obscuring reality? It's obscuring reality because it doesn't encourage the questioning of things. So it's obscuring the reality that we are curious beings. How did you come up? How did you incarnate on planet Earth? Because you were curious about what being an incarnated being on planet Earth would be about. So it's natural for us to be curious. So it obscures the reality of curiosity. And then it brings fear because they hide the truth. Well, these conspiracy theories are spreading lies, so they say, are spreading lies to help you not trust your government. Well, that brings up fear. Well, we don't want anybody to get in the way of our government being able to function and protect us, because it is not true that the government is there to protect you. Well, yes and no. So it was designed specifically in the US. It was designed as a republic where it is governed, the people govern, it's by the people for the people. But we have not been doing that. The people have not been overall going into service for the greater good. People go into service usually for the greater good, but soon after they're in there, they are swept away in what the ego does. What's in it for me? Oh, so if I pass this law, you're going to put $50,000 in my account? Well, that shouldn't happen. It shouldn't be that way. However, all of us, I know I have, grow up believing the government is corrupt, and we let it continue to be so. So to be surprised that people who are curious get labeled conspiracy theorists is not so much, it makes no sense to be surprised, because you have agreed by participating in the government of this country, your country, wherever you happen to be listening to this. If you're not standing to bring about change, if you're not standing, connecting with people who are exposing what is not ethical, what is not loving, what is not in service to the greater good, then you are allowing that to happen. You're complicit with that happening. So a lot of people are going to be shocked that their government could possibly have done anything that was treacherous to them, that they would have conspired. What, the government conspiring with big pharma to hurt humanity, conspiring with the banking system to bring about wars and to keep feeding the what Eisenhower called the military industrial complex. We all know it's been happening. But see, we label these people here, the conspiracy theorists, to basically shut down the conversation that inquires into why is the government actually conspiring against the people. But these things we will not be able to see until we become willing to say, maybe my way is not working. Maybe I'm wrong. And see, that's one of the most important statements on the spiritual journey. Maybe what I've been believing is totally, completely false. And it takes an incredible amount of courage to question your own beliefs. But yet, your beliefs and what you agreed to, I have agreed to, obscure reality because they bring up fear. They bring up fear of discovering the truth that they're hiding, because the ego doesn't want you to know the truth of how powerful you are, because then you don't need to listen to the voice of the ego. Now, for a while on the journey, I do this with my clients when they're early on in the journey. I coach them into making friends with their ego. Make ego your amigo. I coach into that because it's absolutely impossible to get to the root of our belief system if we don't kind of be friends with our ego. We've got to say, hey, yeah, I want to hear what you have to say. Oh, some of the things that I've been believing, well, maybe they did serve me, but they serve you until you are mature enough to see that they actually imprison you. The second part of the journey is to realize ego is never your amigo, ever, ever, ever. But like in a good spy movie, I don't know if you've ever seen anything by James Bond, but to go and find out what the enemy is doing, you befriend the enemy. You befriend it first. You get to hear what it's saying, maybe take it out for dinner and drinks and maybe get it a little drunk. So they will give it a little truth serum so it can spill the beans. But you're doing that only to get what is going to be helpful to you. But in truth, you're not becoming friends with the enemy because you're going to just, oh, okay, it's going to be wonderful to be friends with the enemy. They're out to get you, and you are trying to stay one step ahead by finding out how they're trying to get you. So we make ego our amigo, and then we realize, okay, I don't need to keep listening to the voice that attempted to keep me safe, because it is always an immature aspect of self. The voice that is always trying to keep us safe is usually a 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8-year-old. And so at some point, that becomes your enemy when you're an adult because you're acting childish. But we have to listen to what that child is saying so that we can begin to understand the pattern that we've been operating from. So my clients who move more into the mature part of the journey, we realize ego is the block. Ego is the block to everything that frees us, that allows us to experience not only total and complete freedom, but the peace that passes all understanding. That is experienced through direct connection with the creator, the creative source of all that is. But to move to that, you cannot be blocked by the ego's beliefs. But to get to know the ego's beliefs, you've got to befriend it. You can't come attacking it, because then it's going to put up its guards and you'll never, ever, ever find what the ego believes if you attack yourself. That's why when you attack yourself with thoughts like, I'm not good enough, I'm unworthy, I'll never find love, you can never find out the lies that are being told inside of you, because you have agreed that the ego is right. So we have to go through this process. So it tells us in here, do not attack what you have made to let you be deceived. Don't attack it. Don't go in there attacking the government. Don't go in there attacking the ego. See, for thus you prove that you have been deceived, because if you attack it, you now are saying, I've been victimized by you. So now you're literally proving, yep, you have been victimized because you've been deceived by your own willingness to give power where it's not. Attack has power to make illusions real. If we attack the ego and we come at it and let it know, oh my God, you're so horrible, you're so terrible, then what is going to happen is you're going to go into a you're going to have a psychotic episode, because there's a part of you attacking another part of you. And that's when, you're going to be labeled bipolar or schizophrenic or whatever. We used to put people like that in institutions when they were really going through an awakening. They just didn't know not to attack their own thoughts. They needed to come at them, befriend them, make ego your amigo, begin to find out, wait a second, why do you keep telling me I'm unworthy? So let's sit down, let's get a hot cup of tea, let's sit down in a comfy chair and tell me, why do you think I'm unworthy? And I'm going to write it down. This is called journaling. I'm unworthy because mom didn't like me. I'm unworthy because dad didn't love me. I'm unworthy because boyfriend left me. Now you're taking an inventory of what your ego believes. These are the thoughts in your mind that have created the idea of unworthiness. Well, you can't attack yourself and say, oh my God, I stop telling me that I'm unworthy, and find what's behind it. It's not going to work. Can't be attacking the government and yell at it for being terrible, for taking you to war, without you befriending it first. Let's find out. Let's expose what is there. That's what so many of today's conspiracy theorists are actually doing. They're just exposing. They're bringing out the beliefs that the government operates from, or big pharma operates from, or education system operate from, so that you can see what's there, so that you can make a choice. No, not for me. Not by attacking it. Although, attacking it is just part of the 3D experience. But if you're transcending the 3D experience, I'm talking to the one who's transcending the 3D experience, who is ascending to the co-creation in the 4th dimension or the 5th dimension, a new earth, because you're not going to attack, or by attacking what you don't like, you're making it real. You're saying you have power over me. And this process of waking up is saying, I have power over you. It's a total reverse. We have to begin to say, wait a second, I'm not going to react to what you say or do. I'm not going to give you that power. Maybe while you still operate in the rules of the world, but internally, you have made a complete shift. You have done a 180. You're saying, nope, I can see now that this system is really an enemy to who I want to show up in the world as. So I'm withdrawing my energy. I'm not going to attack you and say I'm a victim. Instead, I'm going to find my power. And from a place of empowerment, I am going to start showing up differently. I'm going to align with those people who are operating differently. That is the new earth that we are co-creating, where we come together no longer as a victim attacking the bullies and the oppressors, but as one who has found their voice and is empowered, and you're co-creating. No amount of attacking what is not working is going to change it, because they're just going to keep labeling those who attack them all kinds of words, deplorables, conspiracy theorists, whatever term you might want to use. So we're going to shift. The shift of perception allows for a total and complete change in the dimension that you are operating in. The shift in perception allows us to shift and to lift in vibration. So you have to be vigilant for the thoughts that you're having. You cannot have low vibrating thoughts of fear, shame, and being attacked and being a victim and being used or being afraid. You cannot. Those frequencies are totally opposite to the frequency of the truth of who you are, that you can handle anything and that you are powerful, and that there are people who understand how to work the system from a higher frequency. If your energy is in co-creating that, you're not going to be in fear of the system. So you cannot hold these two opposing frequencies at the same time. It's one or the other. Now you can be here for 1 minute and here for another minute, and then that's schizophrenia. You're going to be bouncing back and forth. But the ego is, when you see it as your enemy, you understand that every low vibing thought, superiorness, inferiorness, anything that goes with that thought system is tethering you to the old. That's not your amigo. That's not your amigo. That is your enemy. And the Course in Miracles tells us we have to see the ego as an insane idea. It is totally, completely operating against us. But that is not seen until you're more mature on the journey. So attack has power to make illusions real. We cannot attack. We can, this whole, well, we're going to bomb that other adversary who bombed us. Well, to attack is to stay on the pendulum that swings from right to wrong and victim to bully. That is all 3D. That does not allow you to co-create anything new. That keeps you repeating the same old thing, expecting a different result. But if you are curious, if you have the courage to say, why does this keep happening? Like if you take the Middle East, for example, why do we keep repeating this pattern? You've got to make the ego your amigo. You've got to befriend the enemy. Why does this happen? You've got to get curious. You can't be attacking one side or the other. You have to become curious. That means you've got to do some radical honesty work. You got to dig into, how is this happening? You've got to be willing to look behind the veil of distraction. You've got to question everything, but you have to become engaged. You've got to become so committed to discovering the truth, because the truth sets you free, that you are deliberately not choosing sides, but going after the truth. And guess where you're going to find the truth? Listen to your conspiracy theorist friends, because they're the ones who've been researching that. Not to go and find out about all the bad people, but to know that anybody who is in the world and is doing things selfishly, they're listening to the ego. So the last thing you're going to want to do is be selfish and righteous and blame them. You're just going to say, I see what's happening here. Now let me get engaged. Let me participate in finding out who are those who are more conscious, who want to really be in service. And we rally and support those people, because it's so common to be spiritual. I don't get my hands dirty with politics. That's a typical thing that I've heard. I have said it too. There was a time in my journey that I was too spiritual to look at those dark things. And then I realized, oh my gosh, how are those dark things going to dissolve if I don't shine my light on it? Meaning I've got to bring the courage to question things, not to judge them and attack them, but to shine the light and show that the reality, that reality with a capital R observes only the laws of God's. How are we going to bring the laws of God's back into this world if we don't stand as an example of one who has committed to only the laws of God? So there's so much work that happens on this journey. And yes, the beginning stages of the journey is to deal with our emotional woundedness. We have to deal with that emotional body of ours, because if we don't deal with the emotional, we have a lot of density. We're easily distracted into reactions. We're always protecting ourselves. We are operating as victims. We got to find our voice, find our power. Then with our voice, our power, spiritual maturity, just as Jesus did, walks into the temple and overturns the tables and says, this is not acceptable in the house of God. But that requires courage. And it requires a courage that brings us into believing that we deserve better. You see, everybody who does not participate in what is happening in the world is listening to the voice of the ego saying, well, let me just stay safe over here. I'll let somebody else get their hands dirty. Meaning, don't use your light to shine it powerfully on what's happening in the world and then exposing what the ego doesn't want you to see, exposing what the government doesn't want you to see. But you have to love yourself enough to want that to end for the greater good of all. while you're just protecting yourself and you don't want to get your hands dirty, it's pure ego selfishness. It's pure egoic greed. I'm going to stay over here. Now, if you are not guided to participate in that because you are being guided to sit and hold the frequency of love and truth, you listen to that voice that is guiding you what to do. All of us are not going to get into politics. However, staying away from it out of fear, staying away from it because you don't think you have anything to contribute or you don't want to get your hands dirty, that's not courage. That's actually the ego convincing you. This is why it's your enemy ego. It's your enemy convincing you to keep your light to yourself. I'm going to keep my light over here with only these people. We need our light to shine on that which has been dark so that darkness can dissipate. Course in Miracles is preparing us to go to that level of not only honesty, but maturity, to act like an adult here in a world that has been run by childish people because they listen to their egos who are 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 years old. I mean, when you piece all this together, it's mind-blowing that this is how we've been operating. So sentence 7 says, who could be made fearful by a power that can have no real effects at all? You wouldn't be afraid of the government if you saw that it has no power over you. It has no power over you because you're not of this world. It has no power over you because you are eternal. But to know that it has no power over you and you lose your fear of the IRS, you lose your fear of war, lose your fear of the pandemics, you've got to know where your true power resides. And again, that takes a lot of radical honesty. What could it be but an illusion making things appear like to itself? So yes, the ego is making things appear like, well, this is the way that it is. Our government says, well, that's the war happens in the world. Government's at war with its people here. Government's at war over there. So it tells us that that is natural, but it's only natural to one who doesn't know the true essence of their own nature as God created us. So look calmly at its toys and understand that they are idols which but dance to vain desires. Those who we have given power to run the world, and those we haven't even given power to run the world, but think that they have power to run the world, they have very vain desires. It is a selfish-oriented game. Anybody who is doing things for themselves have to be exposed, because what humanity is going through in this decade of seeing clearly is to see that we say, yes, you be in charge. I'm going to turn a blind eye. You do those things. I don't get involved with that. But then what are they doing? They are taxing humanity, taking our funds, allowing central banking to operate, basically bankrupting humanity, making us feel so insecure that we can't be protected, we can't be okay without them. All the while, they're following their vain pursuits. It's all about them. Well, we have to see that we are just so as much all about me when I don't want to pay attention to it, as they are all about them, happily us not paying attention to it. So it takes two to tango. This mess that we have created that gives power to the outside world is only possible because we haven't found our own inner power, and grounded in that inner power, shine our light and say enough. Because it truly is going to take a lot of people, the majority of people, to say enough. Not by attacking, but by being armed with the truth that says, listen, I know what you're up to and the gig is up. But to be able to do that, we've got to move out of our selfish, greedy little lives where we are focused on our little petty things. And the government wants people worried about their own little petty stuff, so that it serves to keep the game going. The ego doesn't want you to know the truth. So this is a journey of not only incredible courage, but radical honesty. We are powerful beyond measure. We are here to shine our light. How are you going to experience the new earth that you want if you don't bring the light that is in you, the truth, the courage, the transparency that is in you, the honesty that is in you, if you don't bring it and make it manifest in the world, so that we can all benefit from it, so that we can all experience it? Because while you keep it to yourself in your own little community, doing your own little fun things, and not that there's anything wrong with that, not at all. But while you are having fun, are you having fun because you're emanating that consciously, emanating that frequency for the whole world to experience? Are you in times in your home when you say, I am so grateful for my happy life. I am so grateful things are working out so perfectly for me. Take the abundance of light, of joy, of peace, of fun that I experience. Send that frequency out there. I mean, for me, that's an ongoing daily thing. And it's just, I know that there's light and I send it out. But that's because I know that what I do for you, I do for me. That's because I know that the selfish, greedy, evil dictators in this world, rulers in this world, they're me, they're aspects of me. And I can recognize it in them as selfish and greedy because I've been selfish and greedy. So I don't withdraw my light from those aspects of darkness that I projected out there and cast it out there as the government, or cast it out there as the medical system. I am in such gratitude for the well-being in my body that I acknowledge the ways that I have been totally in the dark about my own ability to heal myself. So I send out that healing energy on a regular basis because there's so much of it. Here, I radiate it out. It's amazing when we begin to become conscious of how powerful we are and how we have misused our power and let ourselves be so disempowered. But you can't blame out there, because the disempowerment is a choice. It's a choice to use your power to pretend that you're not powerful. This goes on to say in sentence number 10, give them not your worship, for they are not there. Don't worship these idols. Stop idolizing movie stars and musicians and even good politicians. Stop idolizing out there. Stop sending messages that they have power and you don't, that they're going to save you and you can't. Yet this is equally forgotten in attack. God's son, God's daughter, needs no defense against his dreams. Don't defend yourself against the illusions. Don't sit there and go, well, I have, I have no power. They have the power. It's not true. It's an illusion of power, because we have to use our power to give power away. His idols do not threaten him at all. Once you wake up, you realize, you know what? Sure, we've got these people playing these roles, but they don't scare me. His one mistake is that he thinks them real. If you believe that power is outside of you, you are choosing to feel disempowered. You are choosing to say, power, my power, I give to them. What can the power of illusions do? So, of course, this ends this paragraph. So next week, we'll get into the next paragraph. So what can the illusion of power do? Well, what can the power of illusions do? We're going to get into that. We're going to continue to talk about this paradox of being so powerful that when we buy into, well, they have power and I don't, we literally are co-creating the very world that we don't like. But for that world, the 3D world, to dissolve, you must withdraw your power from it, claim your power, and then turn your power back on it by saying, I see you and you don't scare me. Because how else are you going to know you're not afraid of them unless you look at what's happening day to day and say, no, I'm not afraid of you. This is a process. This is not an easy thing to do, but it is very simple. Know the truth and then be committed to only that. And know all the beliefs that support the truth and be committed to only thinking that. But they're going to be the opposite of what your ego thinks. That's why you make your ego your amigo. You find out its beliefs and then you shift and lift to a higher frequency. because the truth of God are the total, complete opposite of the ego. But how are you going to find out your ego's beliefs? Until you sit and ask yourself, why do I believe that? Where did this come from? And take an inventory of what your thought system is, because it's your thought system that creates the virtual reality of power outside of you to appear to be your truth. And all of that has to be dismantled, but it cannot be dismantled without you being totally and completely grounded in the truth that you are eternal. Because once you know you're eternal, then fear of anything happening to the body, as Jesus did, being crucified was just part of what they did in those days. If you are going to be one who's going to operate in honesty, then you're not afraid if they shoot you, because you're speaking the truth, as so many conspiracy theorists have done. They're displaying real courage. Are we displaying real courage? Not until we're willing to die for the truth that we know is true, because we no longer fear death. We no longer fear what happens to the body. That is an important part of the process of liberation. All right, my friends, thank you so much for being part of this. And if you're new to watching these episodes, because you found me on YouTube or Facebook or wherever, know that all the other episodes are on my YouTube at Laina Orlando on youtube.com. And just, I love sharing or giving voice for consciousness to just share whatever it's going to share through me. And it's just an honor. So if you have any comments that you want to make, unmute yourselves. If not, we will go ahead and conclude this, and I will see you next week on Wednesday, 12 o'clock Eastern time. This happens to be 10 o'clock Mountain time where I'm at, but it is so much fun to come together with you and experience this time, because where two or more gathered, there is love. I love you. God loves us so much and wants us to remember the truth, so the truth will set us free and set humanity free from the bondage that we have agreed to be a part of. Love you all. Take care. See you guys next time. Bye-bye.